Hello and welcome to Cut and Paste Craft Studios video for our Galaxy painting today. Thank you, Miss Melissa. Miss Melissa is here with us today. She finished her final so she can come back and help us paint. If you're joining us on YouTube, this is the final product that we'll be doing. What you want to do right now is paint your canvas with your large brush, paint the whole thing black, all right? If you're not joining us on YouTube, you know that we tried to film yesterday and things didn't work out. Something about Facebook didn't like us yesterday. So most of us have already painted our black canvases. But if you're here with us on YouTube, paint it black, then you're gonna wash your brush in your water bowl. But then I recommend going and dumping that water bowl and getting fresh water because your water bowl is not going to be very clean. You don't want to try to wash all your other brushes off in a black water bowl. So go ahead and do that. And you can pause the video if you're joining us on YouTube. Also, if you're joining us and your brushes are brand new, remember to wake up your brushes. You have 3 different sizes. We'll be using all 3 sizes today. If if I'm painting with a bigger brush and you feel the need to move to a smaller one, feel free to do that. This pointy one is really good for detail work and we'll show you how to use that. Also, in your kit, you have another brush. We call them ugly brushes, and yours has been used before. The more used they are, the better they are because they are good at giving you a really rough design, and that's what we want today. So you're going to want to get out your ugly brushes as well. And also, if you have a small piece of chalk or if you have a pencil, we'll be sketching on top of this black canvas a little later to make our planet. So you're going to want to get out that first. And I'm going to wait just a minute or 2 more to see if we've got people joining up with us today. I know Beatrice and Nora and Nat and Emily were with us yesterday.
Do you need this?
Yes, just in case.
It's just sitting there. You should be angled back on there so you're not in it anymore. And so far we got 4 viewers, but we're a little early, so we'll give it a minute.
We're going to start out today working with our ugly brush. If you painted your canvas already, if you painted it yesterday, you can go ahead and get your white paint out.
It's just a weird glare on it.
Okay, there we go.
Might have made it worse. But.
Now, what we're doing today with this ugly brush, I'll show you the part of it that we're going to be working on. Yes, I know it looks pink here, but it's not going to be pink in the end. We're going to start with, it's not going to be pink in the beginning. We're going to start with white, and we're going to be making a line that kind of starts in the middle and on. Ugly brushes are best for doing different techniques. And that technique we're going to do today is called pouncing. So you're going to be it's easier to do it while your canvas is lying down, and mine is kind of up, but it'll still work. So you don't want to fill your brush up with a ton of paint like this and start pouncing, because then you're going to get a little way too much. So take it and just dab it once or twice on your paper towel so you have a little bit lighter amount. And then I'm just going to start pouncing. Now you don't want it to be a perfectly straight line. You want it to be kind of weird, sort of a Y maybe. And then just keep building it and building it. I'm kind of pushing my easel back there a little too much. Now, you want it to be too white right now, okay? Because we're going to be building other stuff on top of this. So we want lots and lots of white there as our base for our galaxy. This is sort of that streak of stars that you can see way off in the distance, either in a telescope or if you're somewhere where there aren't any city lights around, and you can see them off in the distance. So just get a good shape, maybe like that. You may want to bring it out a little fatter in a few areas, make it a little more uneven, like that. And then that's the end of your white. Now, I don't think you need to wash your brush at this point, but you're still using the ugly brush. Wipe it off on your paper towel. You don't have to completely wash it, just wipe off most of the white. because this is where we're going to start blending. All right, now you have two sort of pinky purple colors, and the one you want to use is the deeper one, and if you look at it, it's got sort of a shiny metallic look to it. It's a color called Berry, and that's the color you're going to be using next. So you're going to dip into the berry, you know, like that, and then tap it off a little bit on your paper towel so you don't have a ton. And then you're going to go right on top of this white. You can go back and get a little more if you start running out, but always tap it off a little bit. And you're kind of covering up that white, but you don't want to completely. And maybe cover up more on the outside and just leave kind of a center line of it there. Now this is going to be a game of layers, all right? So everybody's going to layer the way they want to. And you want it to give the kind of look you want it to look with. So believe it or not, we're going to go back and get into our black again. So open up your black, again with your ugly brush, tap it off, and then you're just going to kind of soften that a little bit so it's not quite so bright. And I'm mostly softening around the edges. See that? I don't want to soften up the center. We want to keep that white the brightest part of the very center. So I'm going to go over on this side now and just kind of lighten up a little. My white got a little thick in certain areas. Now you can see I went a little wider this time than I did last time, but that's okay. I kind of like this look. I'm going to add a little more black to this edge, kind of to contain it a little. All right. Maybe occasionally take a little black into the center, but not a lot. Then wipe off all your black. And again, you're doing this at the rate and with the amounts that you like. This has to look the way you want it to look. I'm going to go back into my that magenta berry color again, and I'm just going to put a little color back onto it. Not a ton, but just to give it a few little highlights of it. All right, I'm kind of liking that. I don't know about you. At this point, you are going to, I do recommend washing your ugly brush because we're going to switch. Oh, you know what? I forgot a part. Sorry about that, guys. Dry off your brush. You didn't really need to wash it yet. Go back in with your pink, and you can see here, I did a couple of little extra arms of the pink. One up to the left, one coming down to the right. And on that, I just did the pink. So I kind of went up like this, kind of like continuing my Y. And I didn't do the white because I want this to look a little more distant. All right, see how I went up there? And then I came down here a little bit too. I'm gonna wipe my brush off and just soften that up a little bit. And it doesn't have quite as bright a look because I'm thinking it's a little bit distant. Melissa, can you check our lining up there?
We're all good.
Okay. Now, sorry, wash your brush.
Let's see if we can get a little closer. See, it's the trade-off of how close we can get and how angled we are. But I think that's good.
Okay. So now we are washing off our ugly brush and drying it really well, because this time we are going to switch colors. Now, what we want to do, you'll see we've had our pink in the middle. We've had a bit of it go up this way and a little bit down that way. And don't worry about where your planets are going to be, because you're going to be painting those planets right on top of your star stream there, and your Milky Way, possibly we could call that, whatever you want to call that galaxy. And now we are going to pounce on a clump of blue to the left and a clump of blue to the right. So this is that lovely shiny blue. We call it Collins blue because the company who makes our paint doesn't actually make a soft pastel blue like this in the metallic colors. So we had to make up our own. And because Colin was the one who suggested we make it, and I think he actually formulated it the first time, we called it Collins paint, or Collins blue. There's also a really pretty pink that he did too, a real light pink. All right, and I'm gonna do another cluster over here of the blue. Maybe make a little odd bit coming off of it. You know, you don't want it to be a perfect clump. Maybe a little weird shaped. All right, and then I'm going to dry off my brush, go back to my white, and just put a little on there. And then remember, wipe your brush off. You don't want to have a ton on there. And then just give it some little highlights of the white now and then. Turn your brush around so you're not always, you know, doing the same angle. And you're just giving it some pretty highlights there. How's everybody doing? Are we good and caught up?
Let me know if anyone needs more time or more instructions, or if we're pretty good. I believe we're fine. I'll let you know if we're not.
Now, this is the point where I want you all to look around and make sure that your table is properly covered and that you aren't there isn't somebody standing nearby. Dad's not sitting there with a suit and tie on. Mom doesn't have a pretty dress on. You either have an old painty shirt on or something like that. Make sure that you're, because we are going to get a little messy here. We're still going to use our ugly brush. And we're going to use some white paint. Dip your ugly brush in a little bit of water and then tap it off. You want it just a little bit wet so the paint will fling a little better. So I'm going to just tap a little paint on the end of my brush, not a lot, like that, and then aim very carefully at your painting so that you're not aimed, you know, don't flick it over here. You want to be flicking it right here, and you're going to take your finger and run it down your brush like this. I know Melissa's hiding her laptop. She's afraid of me. And just flick it like that. All right, and then quick look behind you and notice that you got some on the table.
And Melissa's phone.
No!
No, it's just one dot. It's fine. Okay. It really does go far. So we're doing it held up like this so that you guys can see what we're doing. But it would be best if you guys lay it down and flick down onto something, because then you have a lot less behind you to catch the paint.
Goodness, it went
Pass it to me.
everywhere.
A little bit. This is why don't flick paint while your project's sitting up.
But I think we've got also, you may notice if your paint's a little wet, because mine is sitting up, it's starting to run a little bit. So that's another good reason to flick paint while your brush is down low. But those are our stars. I think they look really nice. If you have a blow dryer sitting out, if you are watching on YouTube and you can pause and run and check your blow dryer, You could dry up your little stars right now. If you don't worry too much about it. It'll dry up pretty quickly. Goodness, we are moving along fast here. The next thing we're going to do on here is paint these little sort of brighter stars. So just pick a couple of spots that you want to do this in, and I'll walk you through the steps. This is, of course, where we use our tiniest brush. And I'm just going to put a little bit of white paint on the very tip of mine, and then I'm actually going to kind of wipe it off. This is where I want a light amount of paint. So I'm going to put a star, I think I'm going to do mine right about here. Remember how we like to brace our hands on the canvas so that we have a little more control. And you want to press down with your brush, but then as you pull away, lift up. So press down and lift up so it gets lighter there. So you do one up and one down, and then I'm going to do two side to side. So press down and lift up. I may need a tiny bit more paint. Press down and lift up. It's hard to do this up in the air like that, but that's what you want. You want 6 points of your star, and you want them to be pointiest at the very end. All right. Now, take your brush, wipe it off, and then you just kind of want to soften those lines, because, you know, that's not a super bright, not that soft. And I just set my hand down in the lid to my black paint. That was not a smart thing. So I'm going to use my Q-tip and fix that right there. See how nicely that works? And then just pat it dry. And then I can go back with my tiny little bit of paint and fix that up. But if you've got it too bright there, just use that dry brush to kind of soften it up a little there. Because this is shining from a long, long way away. All right, and then I think I need another one. Let's see. I did that about there. I think I may do another one way up here in this corner. And then I'm only going to do 2 for now, because then we're going to work on our planets. And I don't want to be, I don't want to put one right where a planet should go. So remember, press down a little bit, but then lift up as you pull up. This is really hard to do up in the air. So yours are probably going to look a lot better than mine. But you would like them pointy at the top. There we go. And then I'm going to let these dry a little bit, and I'm going to add a little more color to them later. Well, we are painting really quickly today. I didn't realize this galaxy was going to go so much more quickly. Of course, we didn't have to paint our black background because we did all that yesterday.
Well, this one's a lot less precise and a lot more freeform.
Now, I don't know about you, but my paper towel is a mess, so I'm going to run and get another one and let you guys catch up with me if you need to. All right, now if you blow dried your stars, or if your stars have dried up, mine are pretty much dried up right now anyway, you can start adding, sketching where you want your planets to be. Now I have a little piece of chalk. Some of you may have chalk as well. Some of you may have a pencil. A pencil actually will work on this if you're in good lighting. You can see it. All right. I'm going to show you where I put my planets. And remember, you're sketching this, so it doesn't have to be exact. And my planet's not going to be perfectly round, but I'm going to kind of do sort of a planet right here, coming into the side like that. I'm going to do my Saturn, isn't it? the one that has the rings.
I believe so.
I'm going to do, now if you're really picky and you want yours to be perfectly round, you could take something round you find in your house and trace it. Like that. And then I'm going to do my rings kind of like that. Maybe make it go like that. And then as we paint it, we'll perfect it a little bit to ourselves. I'm going to put another little one up here. And I have kind of a small one down here too. All right. Then we're going to start picking colors for our planets. Now I have chosen to do this one down here. You've got a collection of colors here. We gave you a very bright sunshiny yellow. We gave you a bright apple green. And then there's this other pink, which is not a metallic. It's just a solid, it's called magenta. And your planets can be any color you want. I'm going to show you the colors I'm going to do on my planets, and you choose how you want to paint them. I think I'm going to go with my medium brush for my planet down here. Don't worry if your chalk shows through. Like if you decide, I want my planet to go much more like this, and the chalk sticks out on either end, because this chalk just wipes right off the black canvas. So I'm going to go with this pretty apple green. I know planets don't necessarily have to be pretty, but I want to use this color for mine. And I think it needs to arch up a little more. Ooh, I'm getting off my curve there. There we go. Now, you can see this is not covering very well. That's okay. I'm going to go paint my other planets, and by the time I get them painted, this will have dried up nicely, and I'll do a second coat. And you know the second coat always looks much better. Can you see where I stuck my thumb in the black paint? You have to do that pretty regularly. All right, so you see it's not covering well. That's okay. We're going to be putting on another coat. Dry off your brush, move on to your second color. Now I'm going to do my planet up here with the rings. I'm going to do him in yellow, and I'm going to go right over those chalk lines, okay? Those were just to help me figure out where they should go. Y'all, I'm not doing a good job of bracing my wrist, am I? Remember how I always tell you, you've got to hold your wrist against the canvas so that you aren't painting up in the air. It's very hard to control when you're painting up in the air. Also remember to turn your canvas over and over and over again to get it where you want it to be. And so like right now, to get this bottom end, I've got to turn around like this. Because you know, there's really no up and down in space, is there? All right, I kind of like the shape of that one there. And again, it is not covering well enough, but we will come back to it. All right. Let's go ahead. I used the magenta color. And you know, you guys can always mix your colors too, if you ever decide that these aren't the exact colors you want. Now, I'm not sure I'd mix magenta and green. I'm pretty sure you'd get an ugly brown if you did that. Somebody will have to test it and tell me. But I'm going to use this regular magenta, not the shiny one. And I'm going to paint a nice coat right there. Woo, got a little too much on my brush, so I've got to spread it out. When you're bracing your wrist on your canvas, make sure you're not bracing it right into a puddle of paint. So again, turn if you need to. Now, don't worry about these planets looking pretty plain, because we are going to add a few things to them afterwards. And I think I did this one up here, my little baby one, which I think I need to turn right here in order to brace my wrist properly. I'm going to paint him way down here in this corner. Now, if he's small enough that you don't feel comfortable with those outside edges, go ahead and get your little pointy brush and use him and do your little detail work. All right. Yeah, that's the way I had it to begin with. This guy looks kind of like a wedge of lime, you know, with the, because you can see my lines there. But they're drying, it's drying out pretty well, so we should be able to put a second coat on it pretty quickly. Or, as I said, if you've got a blow dryer handy, I'm not using mine because you all don't want to listen to me. Use the blow dryer. You can probably already hear my husband outside mowing today.
It's quiet enough, you can't.
No, good.
Which is nice.
Y'all, it was obviously the fact that Miss Melissa was taking a final yesterday and not helping us. And that is obviously why Facebook refused to cooperate. So we are very glad that she is back and keeping it nice. Oh, no, I just made. Remember to use your Q-tips if you don't like something. My edge was just getting kind of ugly there. I don't know about you, but my green paint might need a third coat. We'll see. All right, and again, blow dry if you need to. Move things around if you need to. I think I need to turn because if I try to brace my wrist to do my yellow planet, I think I'm going to be setting my wrist into the green paint. Remember to wash and dry your brushes really carefully after each color. I got a little too much paint there. It is hard to cover up black paint with really light colors. But that's just where we are patient. All right, and while I'm over here, I'm going to go ahead and put that second coat on my little baby planet down here. You know, he's probably not a baby planet. He's probably just farther away. And you can see on mine, well, I don't know if you can, but right here on that baby planet, you can see the chalk line around the outside. That's okay. We're just going to brush that off with a paper towel once all of our paint is dry.
That's why we use chalk. It's really useful for outlining things, especially on top of black paint.
Yes. I'm going to add my second coat up here on our magenta planet. I suppose we should name these planets. I'm not sure that they are planets in our solar system.
I don't think we have
a magenta planet?
magenta planet. I can't say that
man.
we do. I'm not an astronomer, but I did live with one for a few months, and I would say we don't.
Melissa had a roommate in college who she found a planet, did she? Or?
She realized that two binary stars were not where people thought they were, which was cool.
That was pretty exciting.
These two stars that rotate around each other. Turns out they're not where everyone thought they were. So that was her research that summer.
That's pretty exciting.
Which was pretty cool.
I wonder if any of my friends want to go study astronomy when they head off to college.
You may either discover that stars are not where they should be, or you may get to go to a conference in Hawaii like she did.
Oh, they have some big telescopes in Hawaii,
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys, my green planet needs a third coat. I can tell that. Y'all, you will get better coverage if you blow dry in between your coats. So mine may not cover up as well as yours. because you may be blow drying. But I'm not going to worry too much about it because I want to show you all how we're going to add the details to things. All right. I think for me, I've got enough paint. If you all want to add more, give it a good blow dry, and then you can move on a little bit. My yellow needs just a touch more there. But when you add some details to them, it covers up some of the little flaws, so they don't have to be absolutely perfect. Now, one thing I wanted to do was I made some little craters along the bottom of my purple planet here, and I know those look really soft, and it's because I put a coat of purple paint over top of it once I got done. But what I did was I just took the wrong end of one of my little paintbrushes, and I got into my black paint here, and it doesn't have to be, you don't want an exact polka dot. All right, guys, we are back. I am so sorry. It kicked out on us, and it wasn't letting us know that we got kicked out. So apparently, I think the last thing you saw was we were drawing the little black dots on this planet down here, and then we're going to let them dry. If you like the look of those craters like that, where you're kind of making little circles with the paint on the end of your paintbrush, that works just fine. If you want to, we'll wait until that dries and put another coat of magenta over it, and it will soften it up. Then apparently we missed painting a ring around Saturn. So I'm going to show you, we took our brush and we loaded it in white, and we went right here and dragged it around like that. And then we got more paint on our brush, started right here, and dragged it around like that. All right, and you may have to go back and do another coat. That may be a good time to blow dry. I hope you all were able to keep up with us there. And then if we, let's see, did we get this, we used a little bit of white paint to soften the edge of that. So we dry brushed, we put paint on our brush, and then we wiped most of it off, and then we just add a little white here and just blended it in to give it a little bit of a lightness on the edge. We did the same thing, but with a tiny brush. Up here, we drew a line with the white, then we wiped all the paint off our brush, and we softened it in. Woo! I got a little curl there, didn't I? And softened it then. Then this darkening that we did on our Saturn, I dipped my tiny brush in a little bit of black paint and drew a line right along the edge. Okay, I stopped here, started up again here. Then I wiped all the paint off my brush, went back to where my wet paint was, and dragged the wet paint up into streaks onto the planet. Just like that. All right. And did anybody have any questions, any comments? Do you have any more things you want to ask about adding to them?
Did you go over the black at the bottom left? This.
Oh, I'm hoping mine are dry now. Let's see. Then we can, if you want to soften it, take a little more of that magenta, and look, when I add that magenta over it, you can still see the craters, but they're much, much softer. They don't look as sharp as they did before. Now, you can start adding anything else you like. I was a little, I think this clump here looks a little funny to me, so I'm going to I want to make it a little more uneven, so I'm going to go back with my little blue metallic and just maybe add a little odd bit here because he just seemed a little too perfect there, and maybe a little right there, and Where do we think we might need maybe a little more magenta? Up here? Up by that star?
Why not?
Yeah. Oh, and I told you that we were going to add a little more color to our stars, and you can do this with the blue or the pink. I'm going to use that shiny metallic berry that we used, put a dab on my brush, and then dab it off. I want it nice and light. And then I'm just going to kind of go over that with a little bit of, give my star a little color in the center. Not a ton, just a light wash of color right there in the center.
You could do yellow too if you want it to
You
be a
could.
distant sun.
That's true, you could. Now, if you're feeling like there are not enough planets in your solar system, you are welcome to add more planets with more colors. You could mix your colors if you'd like to. But I think that's everything that we've added to it. If you want to add more, keep on going. But if you're done, thanks so much for joining this. And we'll try to connect everything up for YouTube so that everybody can have it. Okay, next week, hopefully without any interruptions at all, we'll be painting this horse. I think he is the most fabulous horse I've ever
Absolutely.
seen. I love that mane. He could be a rock star. So we'll be painting him next week. It will be Thursday at 3, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much.